But again, going into 2026, talk about reputation when it comes to a provider altering, enhancing a physical appearance of somebody. Huge. It's so important. And it's one of the check boxes we go through as buyers, as patients, as me seeking a service where I'm going to actually spend a decent amount of cash on. I'm going to look at your reputation. I'm going to look at your before and afters, your work, your credibility, your Instagram, your website, all that stuff. Hey, what's up, everybody? Cam Hemphill here, your host for the Medical Millionaire Podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in. My goal is to give incredible value and insight for practice owners. Welcome to 2026. This is my first guest on for the year, and I'm excited to have her, guys. She has an incredible story. She's an entrepreneur. She's a nurse practitioner. She has a really cool backstory in the sense of leaving her own backyard, going to a new environment, opening up a practice and having success. And so the reason I bring that up is because it shows how much resilience entrepreneurs have. It shows the people that truly take action are the ones that win. And the ones that don't take action will never know, right? And so the part of being an entrepreneur and being a practice owner is you have to go through shit, you have to have grit, you have to fail in order to win. And so I want to welcome Keeley Walker to the show. She has an incredible practice out of Perdido Key. It's called the Lux Clinic. So Keeley, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I am just super excited to be on this podcast. I've been listening to it for probably 2 years now, I think.
Well, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate that. It's always nice to have a fan that's, down the road from me, I guess 2 hours to the west. So talk about that. I mean, I love having you on. I know that you're a board certified nurse practitioner. You've been in aesthetics for nearly a decade. And to build on that, before we just jump in, like take us back before aesthetics became your focus, what originally pulled you into medicine? Talk us about your history and your journey.
Perfect. So my mom was a nurse. She started as an LPN, then became an RN. She talked about becoming a nurse practitioner, but it was like fairly new then. And so I really got to hear all of her stories. She worked at psych ward actually at the hospital, and she would share a lot of crazy stories that like I will never forget. So she really familiarized me with medicine, but then I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 11 years old. And so I have had to really be self-disciplined, and really my pull into medicine was to help take care of other people with diabetes. So I did work at a MedSpa first though. So I became a nurse practitioner because I knew I wanted to diagnose, prescribe, treat. I knew just taking care of them on the floor wouldn't be enough. I wanted to have a hand in the decision making that goes into being a provider. And so I became a nurse practitioner. My first job was in a med spa, and that's really what pulled me in. And I did eventually work in endocrinology for about a year, but then COVID happened. So I got pulled back into working for a med spa. A lot of people talk about how difficult it is to get into working in a med spa, but it just kept pulling me back in. Like, I honestly feel like it was my calling and it was meant to be.
It was love at first sight, sounds like.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. Talk to us so the lessons that you have learned from early clinical years and how it has shaped how you practice today.
Yeah.
Talk
So
to us about that.
medical assessment, getting a good history. I mean, we still use those things in the med spa world. Just making sure you know that the patient's allergies, making sure like comfort is such an important thing. And I would say as a nurse, more so than, maybe a provider who isn't doing the injections, I really learned how to be more gentle. Like a lot of people say, you're an easy handed, injector. It didn't hurt when you did my Botox, but I've been at other places and it was kind of more uncomfortable. So, just having that skill with injecting was something I learned, I would say, being a nurse for 5 years before working in a med spa.
It's like having a heavy hand. I have tattoos, and I've been tattooed by various different artists. Geez, on the right side of my arm and chest, I got tattooed by a guy. He's very well known, famous artist, but my gosh, did it hurt like hell when he tattooed me. And then on the other side of my chest, I have another tattoo by another well respected guy out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I love getting tattooed by him. It was phenomenal. I'm like, I could be here for a couple hours. So,
Yeah.
and it's like the same kind of concept, right? Obviously different, but you're injecting, and so I can relate to that. And I think like as a patient, because obviously I get treatments done, I probably need more than what I'm currently doing, but I can relate to that. I've been to providers where it does hurt and it's uncomfortable, and I've been to other providers to where it's like, oh wow, that actually wasn't that bad. And from a patient experience standpoint, it makes you want to go back because it's comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. You win them over whenever you like. I don't know how many times someone has said, oh my gosh, it doesn't hurt to get, PDO threads, like a multi thread. I'm like, no, like if we use the right numbing, it's just the way you inject. And also, like, you don't need to advance that pilot needle very far to create that entry point. Some people do. And then others have found, oh, it's a lot more comfortable if you don't for the patient. So really getting their feedback on what works best too and using that in your everyday practice.
It sure looks like it hurts more than it actually does if you do it
It
correctly.
does.
Right. I was at a practice once. I went there with a buddy. He's a well-respected dentist, old partner of mine actually, but we were at a practice and I had the cannula going on and he was
Yeah.
watching it. He's like, dude, do you know what's happening to you right now? This is not normal.
Yeah, don't go watch it. Like some people are like, should I look it up online? Send me a video. I'm like, actually it's best if you don't watch it before you get it done.
Agreed. Agreed. Absolutely. Yeah, because you can't see what's going on this close to you unless you're looking in the mirror while it's being done, and you don't want to do that. So no,
Yeah.
okay. So from obviously you have a huge background experience when it comes to nursing, when it comes to patient care, when it comes to patient outcomes. Talk to us about when you realized, and there's this moment for a nurse practitioner where you quickly realize that aesthetics is not only clinical, but it's also entrepreneurial, right? Talk to us about that journey, when you realized that moment, and how it shaped the overall aspect of your clinic and your business and how you operate.
So I started in aesthetics in 2018. So I would say it was pretty early and we weren't making reels. We didn't see the Instagram, the TikTok wasn't a thing. So I did not get to just be told, hey, you have to make content. You have to really advocate for yourself to get people in your chair. And so it didn't hit me. I would say my very first job in a med spa, I really feel bad for the owner now looking back, and I hope he hears this. I didn't know that I needed to be a part of the business. I needed to help, get people comfortable with me as an injector, share before and afters, all of those things. I thought, like, just like in a hospital, when you have insurance, patients just come. You don't even, I mean, yeah, maybe there's a little bit of marketing, but there's not much. And so when it's a cash pay business, you have to really, really work the business side. And that comes with my before and afters are probably why most people find us. Getting those Google reviews. We do have a lot of Google reviews, and that has really helped bring patients in. And then just the word of mouth. Marketing has really helped too. But yeah, it took me a few years to realize this isn't going to be, oh, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I'm in network with them, they're coming in and I'm just going to see patients. It doesn't work like that. I wish it did.
That would be nice. On one hand, that would be nice, right? It's like, geez, I mean, I have so much respect for practice owners on what you do. I truly do. And I say that on a lot of the shows we produce because on one hand, you have this amazing, let's call it profile, portfolio, of who you are from a clinical standpoint, right? You went to school, that takes a ton of work, right? It's expensive, it takes time. All of a sudden, you get out into the environment of aesthetics, okay, cash pay. Wow, all of a sudden, I have to learn how to be a business owner. I have to learn how to be a marketer. While at the same time, I have to inject patients. I have to bring my clinical background into this environment, so it's very challenging. And I think like as you look at today's ecosystem of what does a med spa need to have in order to be successful, a lot of the times I say the most successful practices, aesthetics med spas are truly the best marketers, right? It's content you produce. And let's talk about content for a sec. I mean, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, like how many channels can we go?
At the last conference that I just went to, they said Pinterest. And I was like, Pinterest? Really? I've never been on Pinterest.
Was that Robin? That was Robin on stage when she was saying that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that talk. I was there, and I'm like, geez, let's just keep adding on the channels, and so,
Yeah.
and I know there's tools and programs and tech to kind of consolidate that and push it all out. And then some people argue, well, that's not the best way to do it. You have to have different content segments and different posting, and it gets better for the algorithm. It's like, geez, coming back to my point, it's like I have so much respect because it's so hard to keep up with the demand.
But yeah.
And you made a good point, right? One of the points that you leaned in on was where most of my patients find me, where I showcase my work, what has served you best from a awareness standpoint, before and afters, right?
Well,
And I've had other practice owners on the show before. We talk about before and afters, but I like that you said that even going into 2026, because patients buy outcomes.
oh
That's what
yeah.
we want. We want outcomes. Period. End of story. I'm coming to you with a situation. I maybe I want a quick fix for the weekend, but at the same time, I want the longevity aspect of it. And so I want an outcome. Showing the outcome is that's never going to go away, right? There's different ways to do it. You can, there's different tool sets and stuff like that. But I love that you said that. And so let's just double click on that for a sec, right? Because have people actually reached out to you and said, hey, I saw this before and after that you posted, and that's why I called you because I have the same issue? Just drill in on that for a second.
Yes. So we get so many patients who, in the beginning years when I was injecting, it was a lot more a younger clientele because I wasn't putting out content. But now I have really honed in on getting, my more mature, I'm going to say the word mature patients, my 60, 70 year olds, 80. I've had a couple 80 year olds, and it's because I'm sharing before and afters of all ages. Like, so they see that and they're like, oh, I didn't think that it would even work in somebody my age. I hear that a lot too.
Okay, interesting. No, that's a good point. So for the audience out there, guys, if you're tuning in, when you're taking these before and afters, understand your demographic, understand your practice, understand that if you're just posting, let's call it blonde haired, blue eyes gal in her 20s or lower 30s, if that's all you're posting and you actually have in your market additional demographics that you can service, why not take the time to focus on all those other aspects? So I'm glad you said that. The other point you mentioned was reviews, right? We've all known about reviews. I think that we could talk about reviews till we're blue in the face. But again, going into 2026, talk about reputation when it comes to a provider altering, enhancing a physical appearance of somebody. Huge. It's so important. And it's one of the check boxes we go through as buyers, as patients, as me seeking a service where I'm going to actually spend a decent amount of cash on. I'm going to look at your reputation. I'm going to look at your before and afters, your work, your credibility, your Instagram, your website, all that stuff. So again, talk to us about reviews. Like, what's your strategy? How do you continue to collect them? Do you use software? Is it QR code? Is it asking?
Yeah, we do use Podium, but even before Podium, I think we just got on with them about a year ago. We would just send out like a text with the Google review link.
Mhm.
And so I've been very blessed to have really great help here. And so we're just sending those. And sometimes, I looked at I've been looking at my numbers and I saw we sent 84 reviews when we first got Podium. And what's so crazy is we got 10. We got 10 people out of 84 that ended up doing their review. And then there's weeks where we'll send 10 and 10 out of 10 do a review. So I haven't pinned down any, is it because we sent it closer to when they left the door or was it several months later? Haven't really figured that one out yet, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a numbers game. You're going to have people that do it, and you're going to have people that don't do it. I think we do have a little bit of exhaustion when it comes to give us feedback. Like
Mhm.
I fly on planes a lot. Every time I land, Delta sends me this thing. Please give us your feedback. It's like, man, how much feedback can I give everybody?
Yeah.
So I think it's some of that, but at the same time, it's a numbers game. The more you ask, right,
Mhm.
the more you shall receive. And I don't think that you can peg it in the sense of, at least maybe Podium has data. I don't have data. I come from a big, extensive review background of when to send it, will you get the best response? I do know if you ask personally, you get a better response, right? Because they're right there. You kind of have a face to face, but you need tech enabled platforms that can send out a text, can send out an email, right? Because you're going to go on to the next appointment. So I've
Especially
obviously
when
seen.
you're like a solo provider, like in the beginning, I was that. I was the provider, I was the receptionist, I was doing the mark. I mean, 100% doing every job, and that's how you start, honestly. A lot of people do start that way.
You have to, right? You got to start somewhere, and you wear all the hats until you can fire yourself from that role.
Yeah.
And you have to, as a CEO, as the practice owner, you're like, okay, you just, once the business can support itself, right? It has the cash flow to hire a resource or to buy a piece of technology, deploy that. And therefore you can go focused on other things that matter to the business, whether it's servicing patients, thinking of new avenues to bring in patients, delivering outcomes, whatever that may be. So you said, talk about, I was looking at my numbers.
Yes.
And the way that you said that made me, it kind of just plugged into my memory. I wanted to ask you about it because I know you were recently at the 4S conference that Terry puts on. It's a wonderful conference. It's like KPI until you're, blue in the face and you pass out and suffocate. But she's phenomenal. Her and her team are phenomenal. And what the content they put out, the value proposition, the mission that they're on, it's incredible. And it's
Wish I
so needed.
I wish I would have attended it earlier.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm like 3 years in, and I finally went.
What was your takeaway? Like, because did that make you start to look at your numbers more? And what numbers are you looking at?
I did. And crazy enough, like I knew I needed to be looking at numbers. I feel like I looked at the one number I looked at before going to that conference was the rebooking. So I look at my rebooking, and I'm always trying to get it up to 60, 70%. We're still not there. 3 years in, crazy enough. So we went from like 14% rebooking to, I think we're getting up to 40%. And so that
Good for you.
was so but so once you start looking at your numbers, I feel like your growth is going to be so much more just from looking at the numbers. You'll teach your subconscious that, okay, I've got 60, 70 in the back of my brain. And so now that's gearing towards working towards that.
So, do you have somebody that manages the rebooking on the front desk?
We
Is
do,
that
yes. Yeah.
okay?
And it is harder. So that's one of the questions, what like seasonality. And I would say in this area, we do have some people that live up north. They have a house up north, they have a house here. And so it is a little bit harder on the rebooking. That's one thing I have found for this area. But most of our patients are locals and we can rebook them, but they're very busy entrepreneurs, a lot of our patients. So it's hard I have found it, even me asking personally in the room, like, hey, can we get you booked in 3 months? There is a lot of kickback. They're like, oh no, I might have an appointment that day, or I might, I'm working all day, I'll be out of town. And so been one of the hardest metrics to like get up to 60, 70%. I mean, hopefully we'll hit it by the end of this year though.
Okay, so let me get to challenge the question a little bit,
Yeah.
because you want a patient for life, right? You
Hmm.
deliver the result, the outcome. They're going to age in 3 months. We all wish we didn't, but if it's an injectable, it wears off, right? We gotta go back in, depending on what they're doing, right? Even if it's GLP-1s, weight loss, peptides, whatever we're doing here, we have to re up, right?
Yeah.
I wish there was a magic pill.
Botox doesn't last a year or two. It's like, no, it lasts 3 or 4 months.
It does. And for me, shoot, I'm very active. I go to the sauna 5 days a week. I run, I sweat. I live in the Gulf where you live. It's hot, it's humid. I feel like it dissolves faster than 3 months. It's like
Hmm.
2 months max.
Yeah.
So the fact that, like, the rebooking, I get that. That's challenging. Obviously, your numbers have dramatically improved from 14% to 40. You're saying it's because of your subconscious. You've looked at your numbers. Yes, I would agree. There's having a scorecard, having a metric, having a goal is very important. It's almost like, this year I'm going to make $1 million, but like there's no action behind it. Okay, cool. That's in my subconscious. I'm going to make $1 million.
Yeah.
But you and I both know that there was some sort of activity that you had injected into the practice to take that from 14 to 40. What
Oh
was
yeah.
that? What was that?
It was a team effort. Like, so me mentioning it in the room, and then also it getting mentioned at the front too.
Okay. So team collaboration, actually physically mentioning it in the room, right? Having a
Hmm.
process in place, I guess is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Having a team around it also to reinforce it upon checkout. What about is and I'll just go off the cuff here for a second, is there compensation metrics for the front desk to make sure that they rebook, and are they rewarded on that performance?
So we have not put any of those things in place yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. So I was just curious, and I'm gonna put out an episode here shortly that's going to be talking about compensation, performance based compensation. The more conversations I have, I see that there's opportunity there. So I think that's wonderful. Like the fact that you learn something, you put it in your subconscious, you looked at your numbers and go from 14% to 40. This helps your patient get the true outcome they deserve, right? Because they're going
Mhm.
to get a better result. It helps lower your marketing costs, right? Because then you're not always spending money on marketing or efforts or posting to continuously get new patients, right? You want that patient frequency to continue to come back, which I absolutely love. So, round of applause for you. Nice job. That's a very, very important thing. And just to pivot for a sec, like you also mentioned that you talk a lot about anatomy, continuous education when we were talking offline and when I was kind of doing some research on your profile. In an industry that's growing so fast, I feel like in some cases the science is actually outpacing the technology to manage a practice, which I think is a bizarre environment to live. Like, why do you think the standards and mastery matter more now than ever?
Yeah, so I love that you put out and I've seen the article about there's this, many med spas as there's McDonald's now, and so I do think you have to. It's certain that you have to separate yourself now, and there's so many. There is one on every corner. Crazy enough, that is why I moved here. Actually, I moved here to be by the beach, but I also moved here because I saw that they actually needed a med spa in this area. So setting yourself apart by choosing your location, if that is something that's still available, and being, getting that experience, whether it's shadowing one-on-one other injectors that have 5 years of experience. I think that will set yourself apart. Putting out really great before and afters, and those cadaver courses I've attended through AmSpa. I feel like that did really help. The business conferences, growing yourself professionally, all of those things will help you as you go into your practice. But really having that close knit network of other injectors who have been successful, I think is the most important thing for you being able to master like your own business, your own med spa, is knowing somebody else who's done it, because it's achievable. You're like, okay, they did it, and just being able to text them, being able to call them, having someone like that really helps.
I hope you're listening to what she just mentioned there. It's I talk about it all the time, and she just zeroed in on exactly what has made her have sustained success. It's networking, guys. It's collaboration. It's communicating with your colleagues. It's when you go to these conferences, it's not just to go and have fun and sit in the lobby bar. All those look, I get it. That's fun too.
Mhm.
But, meet people, go in the workshops, understand what technology is being used from CRMs, EMRs, marketing, trends. The chances are that whatever challenge you're facing, somebody has faced it before. They've just been in the ecosystem of aesthetics perhaps longer than you have, right? And ask them questions, because we all want to win, we all want to succeed. And my takeaway from being a networker and going to conferences, we all have a story to tell. We all have experience. And if you can bring this into one room, there's so much learning you can absorb from it. And then you can take back to your practice and you can implement this, right? And so we all want to help each other. I love that you said that, because I'm such a big networker. And some people are talking about conference fatigue. And I said, look, if you don't keep up with the conferences and go network, and you will fall behind, right? Maybe you could do less, but you can't just shut them off.
Yeah, and that's where you meet people outside of your state, outside of your city, So yeah, I would love to ask my neighbor. I have, someone, it's like half mile down the road. But a lot of the time they're going to be a little less giving in their information because they are right next door to you. So going to those conferences, you meet people in different states and cities, and they're more likely to help you out, honestly.
Very true. And you make friends, and then you can have a conference buddy, and that always makes it fun for the future as well. So, okay, talking about the anatomy part, right? So continuous education, anatomy. I think this is a challenging one, and I'd love your take on it. It's the whole balance between patient demand and doing what's right clinically. I think, like, I mean, I see crazy shit all over TikTok and the internet right now. A
Yeah.
lot that has to do with peptides. And so, how do you battle that?
Yeah. So we literally, like, we've had people even come in and say, "Can I see your vial now?" Because they're like, "Where are you guys getting your stuff?" And it's because of what they're seeing on TikTok reels. So, and I'm fine, as long as we buy direct, obviously from Allergan, from the big manufacturers for Botox or thread companies. And I think it is really important to have the FDA regulations. Those have been studied. We know what's in them. I'm not going to buy peptides that have no label on them, that don't say the lot number, that we don't even know the expiration. We don't even know what's in that vial. So I think it's really important to just be credible, like, right? Have the respect. Have that word of mouth is, you know, mixing up your Botox too. Some people, if it's been mixed for more than 4 weeks, I get a lot of this. I went to a Botox party and it just didn't work at all. Spent $500. It didn't work at all. And they said, "Was it over diluted?" And I'm like, "It's not over diluted. It's been mixed up for greater than 4 weeks, or it's been mixed up greater than 2 weeks. And so it's just not going to be as effective." And I think too, just being able to tell them that, they really like hone in, they listen, you gain that patient's trust when you're doing the right thing.
Just, I mean, I love that. It's so true because I think what happens is some practice owners, not all, but they can get in this gray area to where they have to service everybody. And, maybe closing this transaction or gaining this money is more beneficial than actually doing the ethical thing. To build on what she's saying here, guys, is you're a provider, right? Like you are the expert. We come to you for advice. And I think, we need to do a better job of carrying that forward. Just to what Keeley was talking about, carrying that forward, ethics should come first, safety should come first. We have to trust our providers, right? Eventually what's going to happen is like we're already seeing it. Peptides are all over, Instagram and TikTok. And it's almost like no one knows what is on the compound list right now or not. What is the difference between a 505B or a research lab, and where is all this stuff coming from? And I'm telling you that we want to know as patients more than ever, because if I'm going to self inject, like I take peptides, if I'm going to self inject, I want to know how to do it, where they're coming from. I mean, I don't want to, put sugar water in my body or something. I think it's a GLP-1, right? Like we need to know these things. I'm with you. Like I'm a big fan of putting the power back in the provider, is because it's a trusted resource, and that's what we have to be grounded to what Keely was saying. Like you will gain so much more credibility with trust and transparency and saying no, right? Sometimes you have to say no. And so talk to us about that. I'm sure you're like, maybe you're just not the best patient for us.
Yeah, yeah. We honestly, like the lip filler. In the beginning, would I inject lip filler in someone who obviously didn't need lip filler? I probably did a couple of times, to be totally honest. And now it's like that, the years of experience and the feedback and seeing it's gonna migrate if it has nowhere to go. It's so easy now. 8 years experience, it's so easy to say no. It's so easy. And they respect it too. And so even as a beginner, I would encourage you to say no, because they are going to respect it. You fear that, oh, you're going to lose that patient, and that might have been your one paying client for the whole day. But don't worry about it, because they'll come back for something else if you can gain their trust with really telling them what would be best for them. So we get a lot of patients who are older and they have very loose skin, let's say, in their face, and they think that adding more and more filler is just going to make everything look better. So often, every day, I tell somebody, "Hey, do you know what a collagen stimulator is? Have you ever heard of threads? Have you ever heard of Sculptra? Have you heard of hyperdilute radius?" They often have never heard of a collagen stimulator. They only know Botox and filler. And so we gear them towards collagen stimulators versus just overfilling the face.
That's such a good point. I think fillers are becoming, it was like Botox was the key word, and now it's fillers. And I think if you're a practice owner and you're not continuously telling your patients about alternatives, really like sitting down, asking them the questions, introducing them to your practice, truly, you're a medical aesthetics practice. You're not Botox and fillers, right? And let's call it GLP-1s and peptides. It's so much more than that. And I'm telling you right now, we are desperate to know the right information. In fact, I'll give you a story. I was at the gym the other day, and I overheard some guys talking about peptides. Right? These guys are talking
Yeah.
about the gym. Guys like, dude, you got to take the BBC 157 and I think it's like TB 500, and if you put them together, it's like a Wolverine thing. And I'm just overhearing it, right? And they don't know me, but the guy's like, "What does it do?" And he's like, I hear it's great." Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like those conversations are happening all the time. I saw a TikTok video, and it's like, and that's why I'm such a big fan of, hey, providers, please educate, please teach us, please put out good educational content so you can actually like put the truth out there of what we should be taking, what we shouldn't be taking, and maybe get some blood work done before we, put anything in our body. But I love that you talk about transparency and ethics, and it becomes easier as you mature as an entrepreneur and as a practice owner, and people respect that, right?
Yeah, piggybacking off of that, EBSCOhost is free at a lot of libraries. So it's a lot of people don't even know how to look up like evidence-based practice, like clinical trials, looking at the peptides. And there's a lot of information on NAD. I will say a lot of the other ones is a little harder to find. But even giving them the patients those tools will really make you personable, right? It's like the patient's going to be like, oh my gosh, she told me, to do my own research before I jump in on it. And because people they're doing it. And some of them are even scared to tell you that they're starting these new peptides that they're buying from who knows where. So
Yeah. Yeah.
educating them, giving them those tools, I think that's really beneficial.
Huge. I agree. Now you practice in a very unique environment, right? You're in a cool location, beach life, the Emerald Coast, right? You're 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half to the west of me. How does practicing in a lifestyle driven type of ecosystem, right? The visibility of the community, how does that shape how you operate your business? Because it's not just you. There's other locations where maybe there's a smaller demographic, there's a smaller community, it's a beach town, maybe it's a mountain town like Park City, Utah, or something like that. How do you navigate that? Because it's obviously there's locals, and I would argue that the old school locals are probably still there, but more people have moved to that environment. We now like want to live where we vacate, and so that the local population has expanded itself. But how do you navigate a unique environment like that?
Yeah, I would say it is a small town, and so we it's growing. However, I really knew coming into this market, going from Oklahoma City. So I'm from Oklahoma City, and we have close to 1 million people in our city. So we know we have enough people to fill our chair to keep our day-to-day busy schedules. Here, I was a little bit worried about it. I was like, okay, there's less people, it's a small population. So, having those years of experience, having photos from 2018 before and afters, that really helped. And I would say, as far as the lifestyle, I learned right away a lot of people are out on their boats every single day. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to buy an IPL device or a BBL, broadband light, photofacial treatment, because if I do, they're going to go and then they're going to have like hyperpigmentation, or they'll have what turns white, their skin, from being sun exposed right after that type of treatment. So I did choose our devices based on the lifestyle here. So we have a laser that can treat all skin types, but also can treat tan skin. So that was super important to me, was getting the new lasers, the newer devices that can treat skin that has melanin already, because I quickly found out people are in the sun every day here. So I was like, I got to be careful. I would say too that no downtime treatments are super important in this area. I don't see the need to buy a CO2 laser device right now, because I don't see anybody who is an entrepreneur. A lot of our patients are entrepreneurs. They have their own businesses. There's nothing but small businesses where I'm at. And so they're very, very busy, and they do have to be on camera just like we are right now. And they don't want that downtime. So I chose a lot of our treatments based on that. So PRX is a great, like, no downtime chemical pill. And a lot of people get that. They also are able to treat their sunspots and their reds with our laser device, even if their skin is tanned.
Interesting. I think that's it's well noted for practice owners that are in specific areas, where there may be more sun exposure. It's an interesting way on how we select our devices, and I think as you've had your practice in a specific location for a long period of time, and I see this all the time, sometimes we'll go to a conference or we'll see something or run a mastermind, and there is a mention of a device that is working and it's great and everybody should have it. My advice, and I think Keeley would agree with me, would be survey your patient base. Does it service the local community? Does it service your practice? Does it service the environment? Before you go out and spend a lot of money on a device, service your base. Make sure that you actually can sell the packages and sell all the modalities that come with that particular device. Because if you can't, it doesn't make sense to actually make that acquisition. So, being in a smaller, tight knit community, raising the bar around trust and results, does that elevate your approach with your patients? 'Cause I live in an environment probably very similar to you. The minute you're on the naughty list, I guess, like the bad reputation list, whether you're a med spa owner or a landscaper or a handyman, or I haven't met too many handy women here. Like all the service based, like the pool company, right? People that clean the pools, very similar type. The minute you're on the bad list, it's like you're out, like you're done. How do you navigate that? Because you really truly have to raise the bar with trust and deliver results. Is that harder for you?
Yeah, so I would think it helped that people, honestly didn't know me from high school, elementary school here. I'm going to start with that. And you do have to. I was told right when I moved here from a local realtor who's from the Perdido Key area. She was like, you just can't burn any bridges. You just can't. And so as a person though, I see people say I'm too nice. And so I think that was easy for me, but I would say, yeah, you have to raise the bar. If you're someone in a small farm town, you're in a small beach town, you've really got to be careful and maybe not try the new progressive shiny toy treatments that you don't know what's going to be the outcome later. I know I won't mention any names, but there was a injectable for cellulite, right? And it caused post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So they got this dark spots. I never jumped on that train. I'm glad I didn't. But I would say being careful what you add on in a small town too, because if it's a new treatment and in a year we're going to find out it did more harm than good, that wouldn't be something that would be okay, especially in a small town.
Especially a small town that's affluent, yeah, that has disposable income, right? Because
Yeah.
they're going to go get the treatments done. And the minute that reputation is tarnished, you want a patient for life. And so, again, for the audience, guys, every time you see a new patient, a word of mouth referral, that phone call, comes into the practice, that lead inquiry, that booking. If you look at every patient as a patient for life, you have no choice but to give them an outcome that they want. You have no choice but to be truthful to them and be honest, because if you're not, then they're just going to go somewhere else. And that is not a way to sustain a business, especially a practice, right? And so I think if you go into it with that subconscious, that mindset that she's talking about, it's going to give you a net positive result. Maybe they're not going to spend a ton of money up front, but if you take how many times they come per year, and they come to you maybe four, let's just call it 3 to 4 times per year, for example, and they stay with you for 5 years, what is that patient worth, right? If they're spending, let's just call it $5,000 a year, and they're with you for 5 years, that patient that came in is worth $25,000. And I think if we look at it through that lens, you have no choice but to be transparent and honest, and be like, you know what, you're probably not going to get the result you're looking for if you go down this path. I would
Mhm.
suggest this, right? And I mean, I just would strongly encourage the audience to tune in and think things through that lens, because if you do it that way, we're going to be happier patients, and we want just the outcome, and we want transparency.
Yeah, as long as you're confident, like confidently saying, I'm not going to bring in this new treatment. It's we don't know what the outcomes are yet. They'll trust you. They already came in because their best friend referred them. So yeah, just stay true to who you are.
Absolutely. And so let's talk about When it comes to leadership, professional development, you're known for continuously investing in your education. I see that a lot of the content you put out there, the stuff on the website. How do you see professional development as part of your business strategy, not just personal growth?
Yeah, so like I said, I just attended my first professional aesthetic like business conference, and I think it is so important if you are brand new, just opening an aesthetics business. I would actually do that sooner than later. I feel like I was behind doing it 3 years in, so we will have our 3 year anniversary here in April, and I wish I would have done it before opening the doors, or maybe even like 3 months into it. So I at least knew what they were even talking about at the conference, right? So like knowing those KPIs and knowing and then professionally too, helping like setting up those setting up you know what I'm trying to say, the business, like if we get the rebooking rate up, encouraging the providers to giving them a little money for hitting those numbers. Those are things I wish I would have known a little bit earlier on, for sure.
Yeah, and it's like performance-based compensation. If you align the
Yeah.
org correctly, we're all driving the ship in the same direction. A lot of the challenges I'll see is we'll hire somebody, we'll give them a salary, and there's no expectation, there's no performance, there's no metric, there's no accountability. Really, a scorecard. It's just a scorecard, right? Of like, how are you doing on this, and this categories. The more actually that we talk about it and you bring it up, I want to do a solo segment on that, so that will be coming. So let's talk about balancing. And I know you're busy. I know you got to go see a patient. Just a couple more questions for you. Family, fitness, continuing education, demanding practice, the thought process in the back of your mind that you can go to the beach, because I struggle with that too. The beach is always there. People are always on vacation here. I see them going to the beach every day. I'm like, I have work to do. How do you manage all that as a practice owner?
Yeah, so luckily I like the golf is like 30 steps. I could just take 30 steps and my feet are in the water right now. So after work, right? I do, and I balance working out is a absolute must. If I go a week without working out, I am not going to be the business owner and the injector that people want me to be. So you can really let stress get to you. I know I've known a lot of business owners who honestly had a heart attack, had they didn't take care of their health, they were tired, they didn't perform the way they should have. And I think if as long as you're working out, and you're staying healthy, you're staying fit. That was something I didn't really learn in business. I learned it as an 11-year-old, learning to read the back of nutrition labels and knowing what was going on in my body, having to give so much insulin for how many carbs. That was something instilled at a very young age. So I don't know anything different, but it really helps. If you are someone who is tired, you're fatigued all the time, and you own a professional aesthetic business, I would 100% start working out because it helps so much. Like the energy, maybe cutting back on the alcohol. It's dry January right now, right? I know a lot of people are doing that. I'm actually doing it. And it really helps me to be the best injector, business owner. And then balancing, we go to the gym. We also go to the beach. So after work, we've even made time. There's some days where on our lunch break, we'll just lock the door and go take some pictures of products out on the beach. So it's a really great balance because you got to remember why. You have to remember why you're doing it. And for me, we moved down here to be by the beach. So you've got to go. You've got to take those vacations. You can't work every day and not have any days off. So for sure set 2 weeks aside every year to travel or do the things you love so you can be the best person on that day-to-day basis when you're injecting those patients.
Well said. Well said. I completely agree. I think for me, working out is more like from the mental mindset, clarity, focus. It stimulates I can't work and perform if I don't move my body in the morning. It's a routine I go through. So I completely agree. And if you want to be a high performance individual business owner, you have to be an athlete, and I think like you gotta train your brain, you gotta train your body, your mind, all that stuff. Take time off, ground, go see the beach, spend time with family. I completely agree. And it's a wonderful answer. And so I think for anybody tuning in, if you're not taking the time to work on yourself, after all, the chances are you are a provider. If you're tuning into this content, don't forget about yourself. Take time for you, take time to focus on you, because the last thing is you want to be a practice owner for a short period of time. You probably want to be a practice owner for a long period of time, and continue to grow the practice and have the strength to deliver patient outcomes at the highest level, and to have your staff look up to you, right? Be the first one there, be the leader, show up, everything in that regard. And so before I let you go, just talking about the future of aesthetics, right? So when you look ahead 3 to 5 years, where do you see aesthetics going? How are you positioned? How are you staying ahead? Are you thinking 3 to 5 years out? Is that too far? What do you think?
Yeah, I think when I think about that, I'm not sure. I have no idea. But I will say that AI is something. I think they did a raise of hands at the last conference. Are you already using AI in your day to day basis? And I'm not. I guess I'm old school. I was like, no, I'm not. But I think we'll have to. So for booking, I looked back at the podium calls and I was like, okay, how many calls do we miss? Yeah, we call them right back. But even calling people right back, you might not get in touch with them and then you miss that appointment booking. Integrating AI to answer all the calls, that's actually going to save you money in marketing. So we looked at it if we're missing 136 calls. And even if we answer all of those because we bring on AI to text and book appointments for us, then we don't have to pay another front desk or receptionist, patient coordinator. We don't have to spend more on marketing to get somebody in the chair. So it really is about the booking of appointments. I think bringing on AI is going to help, and it will be less personable. Yeah, it's going to be a bot, right? It's going to be someone. And I don't think, even if we start to advance and it sounds more like me and you talking right now for booking an appointment, that would be great, but we're not there yet. So they're going to know it's AI, but I don't think that's going to matter. So that was that. It's like, it's not going to matter. We can use AI for booking, but I don't think we can use AI for, or robots or any of that for injecting. I don't see that coming. That's not going to happen. And then natural, like Pamela Anderson, right? So we've always talked about, we want to look more natural. We want to look like somebody who doesn't wear a lot of makeup. We've been saying that, but we haven't done it. So my patients still come in and they've got layers of foundation, layers of concealer. And I'm like, wait, you're here. We're here to tighten that skin. We're here to make you look better. So I'm hoping in the next 3 to 4 years, we will actually utilize these treatments so we can use less makeup and less cover up. And we're not going to be perfect. Embracing that we're not going to look like a filter ever, but that's okay.
Filters, yes, those can make us. Those can do wonders. Yeah, no,
Yes.
I love that you said the AI component, and I think you're right. With the sense of, if you look back at history, people want to. I remember going from making phone calls to text messaging. Right, I think we're probably in that same cohort. It was like, why would we text? I could just pick up a phone. And now you text before you actually pick up the phone. In most cases, like when we're communicating, right? It's like I could send a quick text. And so what's going to happen in the world of AI is we're going to become very comfortable interacting with AI agents. And maybe it will sound like Keeley and you'll have a persona. But I agree. I think it's coming. I don't think we're there yet. I think it's going to get better and better. And so AI is definitely going to be a big component of practice ownership on the tech stack environment going forward. I agree. And on the foundation comment you mentioned, I agree. I think that when you look ahead in the advancement of aesthetics, I think you're going to see a lot of that as well. And so, hey, I've really have enjoyed having you on the show. I know you're super busy, you have patients to see, but if people want to connect with you, where can they find you? Where can patients find you? Where can providers find you? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, so we're the Lex Clinic Florida on Instagram, and then I'm NP, so nurse practitioner, NP underscore Keeley, Keeley, and then we're the Lex Clinic on Facebook. So yeah, and it's LUXE.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. I'll leave it at that. Guys, I'm now putting the content out on YouTube. So if you're more of a visual individual and you want to see the stuff on YouTube, we have taken the time to consolidate all the episodes and push them out to YouTube. So we're starting to use that platform. Obviously, it's going to go out on Apple, Spotify, all the other platforms, iHeartRadio, all those as well. And so I'll leave it at that. If you guys found this particular episode valuable, please share it, rate it, comment, share it. I would love the feedback. Drop me a DM, right? I don't think I said that enough. You guys can obviously follow me on Instagram. It's at Cameron Hemphill. Connect with me. I'm always looking to have other individuals on the show. And so thank you so much for tuning in. Keeley, it's been an honor. I'll let you get back to doing what you do best. Guys, go follow her. She has an incredible journey story, and she's obviously delivering a great result for patient outcomes, and people love her. So I know that we'll be connecting more and more, and I'll leave it at that. Thanks so much. Until next
Thank
time,
you.
happy injecting.